The revolution hiding in your rest. There's a moment that happens when you've been carrying weight for so long that you forget what your shoulders felt like before the load. You wake up one day and realize you've been living in survival mode so long, you don't even remember what thriving looks like. You've been strong, you've been resilient, you've been everything everyone needed you to be. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that survival was never supposed to be the final destination. I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Rhonda Parker, a woman whose story is a testament to the truth that healing is not just possible after deep violation, it's a pathway to purpose. Rhonda Parker has spent her life transforming pain into power, silence into solidarity, and trauma into a platform that helps others find their voice. Her work reminds us that the end of survival is not the end of the story, it's often just the beginning. What she shared with me during our conversation is something I believe every woman listening needs to hear. Because if you've ever felt like your past was too heavy to carry into your future, if you've ever wondered whether speaking your truth would cost you more than keeping silent, if you've ever believed that your pain disqualified you from purpose, this is for you. Let me be clear. This is not a conversation about being broken. This is a conversation about being whole, even with scars. This is about learning to be soft in a world that taught you survival. This is about dropping the cape, setting the boundary, and finally, choosing yourself without apology. Because here's what we don't talk about enough: silence doesn't protect you, it protects into the harm. And truth, messy and uncomfortable as it is where healing begins. Rhonda Parker's insights reminded me of something I've seen play out in the lives of so many women. We think if we just keep moving, keep performing, keep being strong, eventually the pain will fade. But trauma doesn't work that way. Trauma lives in the body. It shows up as fibromyalgia, as PTSD, as chronic exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. It shows up as the inability to say no, the fear of being too much or not enough, the belief that rest is a luxury you haven't earned. And the world rewards this. The world loves a strong Black woman. The world loves a woman who can carry it all and never complain. But nobody asks what it costs her. Nobody asks what she's carrying that isn't hers to hold. So let's talk about what it looks like to put some of that down. One of the most powerful examples of this is Tarana Burke. In 2006, long before the hashtag went viral, long before the phrase became a global rallying cry, Tarana Burke was sitting with young Black and brown girls who had survived sexual violence. And she noticed something. These girls felt isolated. They felt ashamed. They felt like they were the only ones. So she started saying two words: Me Too. Not as a slogan, as a lifeline, as a way of saying, You are not alone. What happened to you was not your fault, and your voice matters. Burke didn't start a movement by being perfect. She started it by being present, by creating space for survivors to name what happened to them without needing permission, without needing proof, without needing to perform their pain in a way that made others comfortable. She gave them language, she gave them community, and she gave them the radical idea that their trauma could be transformed into solidarity. That's what Rhonda Parker's story echoes. Survival is not the end, it's the soil. And what you grow from that soil, that's up to you. But here's the part we skip over: the part between surviving and thriving, the part where you're still healing in real time, the part where you're learning that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the bridge to connection. Brene Brown spent years researching shame, and what she found was this: shame cannot survive being spoken. The moment you name it, the moment you say it out loud, it loses its grip. But we've been taught the opposite. We've been taught that if we speak about our pain, will be too much, will be a burden, will be disqualified from the table. And that's a lie. Brown's work shows us that the people who live the most wholehearted lives are not the people who've avoided pain. They're the people who've been willing to be seen in it. They're the people who've said, this happened to me, and I'm still worthy. This is my story, and I'm not ashamed of it anymore. That's the work of the soft girl era, not pretending the hard stuff didn't happen, but refusing to let it be the only thing that defines you. Because here's what I know: you can be soft and still be powerful. You can set a boundary and still be kind. You can say no without guilt and yes without explanation. You can rest without earning it. You can heal without having all the answers. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom. Viola Davis said something once that I think about all the time. She said the greatest gift her mother gave her was permission to feel, not to be strong all the time, not to have it all together, but to feel, to cry, to be angry, to be soft. Davis grew up in poverty. She grew up with trauma that shaped her childhood and followed her into adulthood. But she didn't let that be the end of her story. She pursued education, she trained, she worked, and she used her platform to speak openly about what survival cost her and what healing gave her back. She became an Academy Award winner. She became one of the most influential voices in entertainment. And she did it without pretending the pain didn't exist. She did it by integrating her story into her strength. That's what Rhonda Parker's journey reflects. Pain doesn't disqualify you from purpose. It often becomes the very thing that qualifies you to help someone else. But here's the thing: you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help anyone else if you're running on fumes. And you can't transform pain into purpose if you're still pretending it doesn't hurt. So let's talk about what it looks like to actually heal. First, you have to tell the truth, not to everyone, but to someone: a therapist, a trusted friend, a support group, a journal, somewhere safe where you can say the thing you've been holding and let it breathe. Second, you have to stop waiting for permission: permission to rest, permission to say no, permission to take up space, permission to be imperfect. You don't need anyone's approval to prioritize your peace. Third, you have to redefine strength. Strength is not carrying everything alone. Strength is knowing when to ask for help. Strength is setting a boundary even when it disappoints someone. Strength is choosing softness in a world that demands hardness. And fourth, you have to believe that healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel whole. Some days you'll feel like you're back at square one. And both of those days are part of the process. Rhonda Parker's story and the stories of women like Tarana Burke, Brene Brown, and Viola Davis all point to the same truth. Trauma reshapes a life, but it does not have to define the final chapter. You get to write what comes next. And here's what I want you to know: if you're sitting here thinking, and I don't know if I have the strength to do this, let me tell you something. You've already survived the hardest part. You've already made it through the thing you thought would break you, and you're still here. That's not luck, that's resilience. That's grace, that's proof that you are stronger than you've been giving yourself credit for. But now it's time to stop surviving and start living. It's time to stop performing strength and start practicing softness. It's time to stop protecting everyone else's comfort and start protecting your own peace, because the world needs you whole, not perfect, not polished, not pretending, whole. The women listening to this, you're not too much. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are right on time. And your story, the one you've been afraid to tell, the one you've been carrying in silence. That story has power, not because it's pretty, but because it's true. So here's what I'm asking you to do: take one healing action today, not tomorrow, not when you have more time. Today, call a therapist, join a support group, write one honest sentence in a journal, text someone you trust and say, I'm not okay and I need help. And if you're not ready to do that yet, that's okay too. Just sit with the idea that healing is possible, that softness is available, that you are worthy of rest, of peace, and that um, of joy, of a life that feels like more than just getting through the day. Because survival is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of the one you get to write. Rhonda Parker reminded me of that, and I'm reminding you. You are not alone, you are not too much, and you are absolutely, undeniably worthy of a soft, sacred, whole life. So drop the cape, set the boundary, speak the truth, and step into the version of yourself that's been waiting on the other side of survival. Your soft girl era is not a trend, it's a revolution, and it starts right now. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud: the world is not going to give you permission to rest. The world is not going to stop demanding more from you. The world is not going to suddenly decide you've earned softness. You have to claim it. You have to decide that your piece is not up for negotiation. You have to stop waiting for the right time and start creating it. And I know that sounds hard. I know it feels impossible when you're already stretched thin. But let me tell you something. The hardest thing you'll ever do is keep living the way you've been living. The hardest thing is waking up every day and pretending you're fine when you're not. The hardest thing is carrying everyone else's expectations and none of your own joy. So if you're going to do something hard, let it be choosing yourself. Let me leave you with this. There's a reason why they tell you on airplanes to put your own oxygen mask on first, because you can't help anyone if you can't breathe. And right now, too many of us are suffocating under the weight of what we think we're supposed to be. But what if you stopped trying to be what everyone else needs and started being what you need? What if you stopped apologizing for taking up space and started celebrating it? What if you stopped waiting for someone to save you and started saving yourself? This is not about being selfish. This is about being whole. This is about recognizing that you cannot pour love, energy, care, and support into everyone around you if there's nothing left for you. And I know some of you are sitting here thinking today, but if I stop, everything will fall apart. And maybe it will. Maybe some things need to fall apart so you can rebuild them in a way that actually serves you. Maybe some people need to step up because you've been stepping in for too long. Maybe the world needs to see what happens when you finally choose yourself. Because here's what I believe. I believe that when one woman chooses healing into you, it gives permission to another. I believe that when one woman sets a boundary, it shows another that it's possible. I believe that when one woman says, I'm done surviving and I'm ready to thrive, it creates a ripple that reaches further than she'll ever know. And that's what this is really about. Not just your healing, but the healing of every woman who is watching you, every daughter who's learning from you, every sister who's waiting for you to show her it's okay. So I'm asking you today, what are you waiting for? What permission are you still seeking? What proof do you still need that you're worthy of rest, of peace, of softness, of joy? Because the answer is none. You don't need permission. You don't need proof, baby. You just need to decide. Decide that today is the day you stop performing and start living. Decide that today is the day you stop surviving and start thriving. Decide that today is the day you choose yourself. And when you make that decision, say, everything changes, not overnight, not perfectly, but slowly, steadily, powerfully. Because the revolution is not in the hustle. The revolution is in the rest. The revolution is in the boundary. The revolution is in the softness. The revolution is in you choosing you. So go ahead, drop the cape, set the boundary, speak the truth, and step into the life that's been waiting for you on the other side of survival. Your soft girl era is not a trend, it's a reclamation, it's a revolution, and it starts the moment you decide you're worth it. And trust me, you are.